Good morning, everybody. Yeah, we've been playing with the mics. Good morning. Can people come in now? We're about to get started.
We got a couple more coming through the door.
All right. Well, welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living in the heart of Las Cruces on this beautiful Sunday morning. Greetings to everyone, and let's sing.
I am a light, I am a light, I am a light of this world. I am a light, I am a light, I am a light in this world. And I shine, and I shine, and I shine so bright. And I shine, and I shine, and I shine so bright. You are a light, you are a light, you are a light in this world. You are a light, you are a light, you are a light in this world. And you shine, and you shine, and you shine so bright. And you shine, and you shine, and you shine so bright. We are a light, we are a light, we are a light in this world. We are a light, we are a light, we are a light in this world. And we shine, and we shine, and we shine so bright. And we shine, and we shine, and we shine so bright. And we shine, and we shine, and we shine so bright. And we shine, and we shine, and we shine so bright. Tell you, you were anything less than beautiful. How could anyone ever tell you, you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you, you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you, you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. Anyone ever tell you, you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you, you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Reverend Bonnie, the community spiritual leader here, and it is so wonderful to see everyone. Thanks for being here. I want to welcome you to our center where our vision is a world in loving partnership for the good of all. And anyone who's visiting for the first time, I would like to welcome you as well. And we have packets in the back. They're little bags that have goodies in them that you're welcome to take. There's a gift certificate to the bookstore in there, and you can also fill out how you found us. And if you want to get our e-newsletter, give us your email and we'll add you to the e-newsletter list. And that being said, you can always find out all the wonderful things that are happening by getting that newsletter, as well as going to our website. Currently, we are collecting luggage for foster children so that they can carry their belongings in actual luggage instead of garbage bags, which is what they do if they don't have a bag. And we're collecting coats for our free coat giveaway as the weather is starting to get colder. And on October 27th, Thursday, is our New Thought Luncheon. It'll be the last one until probably January or February because we're moving into the holiday season. So it'll be a time to gather, have a potluck, and just sit and enjoy each other's presence. As you might be able to see over there along the wall in the back in our kids' space, we're already collecting for our treasure sale, which is the last weekend of this month, that Saturday. And so we're inviting you to bring things in and please help us sort. So we've categorized, and if you'll help us sort and put them in the right areas, that would be so wonderful. Somebody left some things out on our ramp. I don't know who that is, but we would appreciate it if you bring things in and sort them out for us. That takes a lot of the pressure off of all of us that are doing the work for this event. And that same weekend as the yard sale, we will be having what I'm calling a guest speaker. We have a lot of people who speak here that are our regular guest speakers, but this person has never been here before. Her name is Dina Efferson Williams. There's a flyer out on the table that you can read about her. She'll be our speaker, she'll do the guest music, and then there will be a workshop following the service. So bring either something to share with people or a sack lunch, and stick around for a workshop that she promises will help us, empower us, and move us into a greater expression of who we are in the world. So please plan to stick around for the workshop and see what she's like and what she has to offer us. And today, if there's anyone who hasn't joined the center yet and would like to after the service, please see me. I'll do a new member orientation. It's usually brief, about a half hour to an hour, answering your questions, telling you about the center and how we work, and welcoming you on board. So let me know if you're interested in joining the center. And so at this time, pleased to welcome our practitioner in service.
Good morning. You guys look great today. We at the Center for Spiritual Living believe in the power of prayer. And you'll find on the seats in front of you a prayer request that you can fill out. You can leave it in the God box back there or in the collection plate. And we have a wonderful group of people that meet every Tuesday and pray with you on these issues. It's a beautiful group of people from the 4 New Thought organizations here in Las Cruces. So it's a really powerful thing. And so if there's something you want assistance with, just put your request in and we will be on it. Also, if there's anything weighing on you today as you listen and sit, I'll be here after. I could be up here in the front. Bob's available as well. And we can do a quick prayer treatment with you, and I bet you leave a little bit lighter, at least. So it's a wonderful thing, and I hope you take full advantage of it. Now it is, the gratitude card. There's also a nice gratitude card. It's lovely for us to hear when your prayers are answered. So that's in the back of the chair in front of you too. So fill that out and let us know how Spirit is working in your life. And now it's time for song, silence, and prayer.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
Right now, we're in the presence of Spirit. Feel it moving in and through you. And know that Spirit is for you at all times. That Spirit is our source for grace and good and light and peace and prosperity. That it is our true nature and that it is always available at our fingertips. This morning we open to acceptance. We align ourselves with that Spirit and know that we are so deeply blessed. And so it is. The reading today is from that, and again, from that great book, Creative Ideas by Ernest Holmes. So rich. And nice and clear, I find. It's not the complicated Ernest that you might have run into. This one is entitled, I Am Supplied from the Substance of God. And the biblical quote is, the Father hath given all things, from John. We all have need of many things. We cannot believe that the divine Spirit wishes to withhold any good from us. It is the nature of God to give, and it is our nature to receive. Back of every idea of supply, every need in our human lives, there is something which forevermore gives of itself and takes the form of our experiences when we permit it to. Whether it be a house to live in, money that we have need of, or employment that furnishes the gratification of adequate self-expression. Always there is the giver flowing into these things. But God cannot give if we refuse to accept. And his meditation is, today I live in the quiet, joyous expectation of good. God is not only my life, it is also the substance taking form in my experience. God is not only the actor, but it is acting through me now. God is not only the giver, it is also the gift. This gift I receive in joy, with gratitude, and with a complete sense of security. I expect everything I do to prosper and new and wonderful experiences to come to me. I now live in complete confidence that the realm of heaven is here and now, and that I experience it now. I am prospered in everything I do. And so it is.
Okay, I'm going to do an instrumental piece for you this morning. So no lyrics, but it's got a lot of energy, so I would suggest that you kind of visualize some good that you're seeking and kind of just see it chasing you down and giving you a big hug at the end. Oh, this is Marching Season by Yanni.
I hope that hug caught up with you. That was beautiful. Thank you. Very nice. I think that was took us to a nice place. And a wonderful welcome for our speaker today, Peggy Shinn. Peggy Shinn is a licensed practitioner of religious science, and her license has been held at Lake Chapala Center for Spiritual Living since 2017. This center is located in Ajijic, Jalisco, Mexico. And when in residence there, she helps to manage the center, teaches classes in both Spanish and English. She serves as the team leader for the organizers team of the Conferencia de las Americas, and she is a bilingual Science of Mind conference. It is a bilingual Science of Mind conference presented by the Chapala Center in partnership with the CSL International School of Spanish Leadership, and has been held annually in Chapala since 2014. And several of us have gotten the opportunity to go and enjoy it. It's a beautiful place to go for a conference if you ever want a place to enjoy CSL teaching and practice your Spanish and just, it's so lovely there. So we are grateful that Peggy even returns home to her Las Cruces home and graces us with her presence and her words. And so today, please welcome Peggy Shinn.
Thank you. Yes. Bonnie's reminding me to stay near the mic. I was sitting down there thinking, I wonder if I could move the mic a little bit. Are you actually videoing?
Yes, the video's
Hi. I'm used to Randy, being back in the room or someone being back in the room doing the videoing. That shows you how long I've been away, right? Yeah, I guess so. Well, at any rate, I'll watch you and you just tell me, get back, Jack, I'm like the music there, the energy and the movement, and I didn't take your advice. I saw, I listened and I heard, I didn't so much see, but I heard like water flowing or a flow of some character, and for me it was like, as it sped up, that it was my good flowing to me, and it was, hurrying up and overflowing, and it was enough to spare and to share, which is part of what I hope we'll be talking about today. And the other music reminded me, so I had the segue that I can talk about the Convention of the Americas. We say it in English too, because it is a bilingual event, and it's simultaneously translated. But we are about to have our virtual event, 11th, 12th, and 13th of November, that you could sign up for $50. You can see what it's about vicariously, because we will be putting some of the recorded information up from the actual event that we held in person in Chapala the first week in August. So those of you who didn't get to come, who wanted to come, you can at least see part of that and feel the vibe a little bit through the airwaves. But the virtual event also has a lot of additional, well, not a lot, but more workshops than we were able to have in person there, because the facility limits itself and limits us in the sense that it only has 2 meeting rooms where we can have our meetings and our workshops. But on Zoom, we have a limitless number of rooms, but this year we only have 2 teams to do the monitoring. So we'll be having 2 workshops in competition with each other. But you can go to our website, conventionoftheamericas.com, and look that up and get yourselves registered, and we'll see you on the Zoom. We'll be coming through your Zoom to your living room. And our theme, in conjunction with your opening music this morning, is Be the Light. And I know that song that you all performed, and I'm thinking, how that didn't occur to me when we were going through the music to have for the convention. I don't know whether we can add it or not, but we'll see. But I was thinking about all the different songs that were about be the light or have the light or whatever, and that one didn't show up. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. Anyway, my theme today is titled Look Up. And I don't know how many of you will agree with some of the things that I have to say or what I want to teach you, but part of it is a result of this convention in Latin America, because anybody in the room here of Reverend Dr. Kathy Ann Lewis from Seattle? Yeah, there's a couple of hands up that know Kathy Ann. Well, Kathy Ann is one of our loyal and regular speakers at our convention, and this year she decided, after having a number of conversations, she does not speak Spanish, but she can hold her own in a bilingual conversation with people who are bilingual out in the hallways and out in the restaurant area, and it's all open air, so I'm saying hallway so you can relate, but we don't really have hallways. It's God's hallway. And she decided that she was going to do this class on abundance. It's called Money, Mysticism, and Miracles, and it's only for practitioners and ministers. But we have 14 ministers now who have graduated from the School of Spanish Leadership. And she invited them, as well as the Spanish-speaking practitioners who are bilingual, to go to this class. So we kind of ginned up a little idea that we would all go to her class and learn what she's got to teach us, and then try to spread the word down in the Spanish-only kinds of classes that we have many times, although we're working more and more into the simultaneous translation on Zoom on almost anything that we can afford to get it done on. Anyway, so I want to share with you Kathy Ann's technique, but first I want to get some agreement in the room so that we all are on the same page, and then I've come prepared to read you a bunch of stuff from what did you call him? The complicated Ernest Holmes? There you are. The complicated Ernest. I brought this book to read you a little bit more from the complicated Ernest Holmes about what we're going to talk about today on looking up and how and what that might have to do with the attraction into your life of more and better good, the wave or the flowing of that water that just gets faster and faster and rushing the rapids or whatever was going on there. But first of all, do we kind of have an agreement in the room that we understand that there's something called consciousness that we teach a lot about, we try to educate people about, we invite them to raise their level of consciousness. There's in the excuse me, I've got a little back in the land of the allergies. There's 325 references in this book that appear in the concordance. I don't know if there's more than that, but 325 times that Ernest talks about consciousness or something related to conscious thinking in this book. And one of the things that we understand about consciousness is that it's individualized. There's the collective consciousness that that we're all a part of, but each of us is our own individualization of that consciousness. So when we contribute to elevating our consciousness, we're contributing to elevating the consciousness of the collective as well, we hope, right? And it can work the reverse too. And part of what is a development level of consciousness is our thinking. This is our motto in Science of Mind: change your thinking, change your life, right? Well, the changing your thinking is the step that you get through to get to the consciousness level changing. And being able to have that be your, Bonnie and I were talking about environment or atmosphere a little while ago. Become your atmosphere is your consciousness that you're constantly swimming in. And whether it's just yours individualized or whether you have elevated it to the level of mysticism that Kathy Ann's talking to us about in this class, where you see God in everything. Most of us have a little trouble, me included, with that one. But there is a sort of a formula that we work by that relates to how thoughts end up becoming the baseline of our consciousness. There's a thought plus a feeling gets you some sort of result. And we hope that that result is something that contributes to the elevation or the higher good of your consciousness. So are we all on the same page here so far? Nobody. And the other thing I want to get a little agreement about is I'm going to use the word God, and it's in this book too, and anybody that has a little trouble with that word, see me later. But we're going to talk about what that is. So in this book, and if I don't tell you, if I don't read you all the things, I'm going to at least try to give you the quotes reference page, because part of what I'm going to talk to you about later may seem a little bit strange to you, and it may seem a little bit woo-woo to some of you. And I want you to know it's right here in this book somewhere, right? So on page 125.4, which I can't read with my glasses on, I can't read with them off, I'm promising myself and everybody else in my world who's frustrated by this that I'm going to get my cataracts operated on while I'm home this time. But so far, I'm still struggling with this idea. So he's talking about what thought is and how thought contributes to the consciousness by creating an inner movement. And thought is an inner movement which is largely the result of one's perception, I think I can read better with that, of life, his life in general, both, and one's reaction to it. Some of you have been in the room before probably and heard me say there is no reality. You know, there's no objective reality. There's only the reality that is ours, that we've chosen to interpret from what we've seen. And this is partly how we're going to talk about looking up. So that thought that we have, coupled with the feeling that comes with our reaction to it, is what creates the result that may or may not show up as an up-leveling of our consciousness. But the first result ultimately takes us to a belief level if it's thought over, if the same thought is thought over and over again, like Esther Hicks calls it chronic thinking. She says if we're susceptible to chronic thinking, which I confess, and I'm sure a few other people in the room would confess that this is part of how we all operate, it's part of the human condition, that we'll have a thought and we kind of decide that we want to believe that thought, or, you know, we all kind of have a tendency to believe what we think. I love that bumper sticker that I saw years ago that says, "Don't believe everything you think." And so we do, because it's part of the human condition. So when we think things chronically, then that becomes our consciousness. And it sometimes doesn't come just from our thoughts, as we're taught in Science of Mind, that the consciousness is built out of other consciousnesses of those around us, those we associate with, all the history of mankind, all of our teachers, parents, you know, all that stuff's in there somewhere rattling around. And it's up to us to sort of bring that subconscious to the conscious level in order to have a conscious thought about what we're trying to achieve or what we're wanting to do. So this is all about my kind of groundwork for what is consciousness and how we see it. And the next level that we take that to is that consciousness is cause. And if any of you have taken your Science of Mind classes and you've learned something about treatment and the 5 steps of treatment, and the understanding that there is a causational factor between our mentality and what shows up in our lives at the end of the day, then you'll understand that consciousness is cause. We don't necessarily always call it like that, but our thought is the causation of our feeling, our attitude, that reaction, that lens, those eyes through which we interpret our world. When we have the thought plus the feeling is our reaction to what's happening. And we only have a limited amount of information that we can take in at any given time, according to the brain scientists. So we kind of focus on that, get stuck on that maybe, get wrapped around the axle, as I would call it by that. But on page 311, I think is where this is. I keep losing my phone that has my notes in it, sorry. My phone is not happy since I went to Mexico with it. It doesn't have enough memory. That there is an action of consciousness as law, upon substance forever producing form and forever withdrawing from any particular form that is producing another, and then the form changes, but the formless is forever. So we're always having this temporary experience of whatever the form is. But at the God level, form is changeless because there is no real form. But it says right here that consciousness as law. So the law is what brings about the result in our life. That is I think I've just put these down because I don't want to be tempted to keep putting them back on. Drive you guys nuts. Sorry, guys, out there in Zoom land. But I broke my other black glasses. This is a Peggy, you know. And I'm too vain to put on a different color of glasses that doesn't go with my outfit. And these have too much magnification. Now, maybe we'll have to talk about that later when we look up, right? But at any rate, consciousness is a part of the law and how it creates in our lives the result that we see. There is no element to the process other than what's individualized, really, because as I was teaching my classes, it's all about me and it's nothing about me. But in many ways, it ends up being all about us. So when we're looking for this idea of abundance, what are we producing in our lives? What's showing up? We heard in the reading this morning about the divine givingness. And I'm so happy about all these things always go in divine order for me, the music, the reading, the whatever, because I had looked at reading from page 393 of Living the Science of Mind. So if you want to make a mental note about this, you might want to go home and read this. But that little chapter in Living the Science of Mind is about the divine givingness and the divine receivingness and the relationship between the two that causes the law of circulation to operate in our lives. And just as you pointed out in the reading, the book pointed out in the reading, that we have to be ready to receive. And I don't know how many of you have taken classes, but that's what we teach about how the work of treatment happens. Are you ready to receive? That's the 5 steps of treatment in an acronym, or whatever they call that, when you make up something that each letter of the first of it makes up, you know, what you're trying to teach. So we teach that as, are you ready to receive? And if we don't receive, and if we're not ready to receive, then why not? What's in my way but me? What's in your way but you, if you're not ready to receive? We teach that there's a greater and greater good out there, and that you ought to have it, and that practicing these principles will help bring that to you. And the abundance talk that I heard that Bonnie gave last week was a way of allowing the awareness to come into the room that abundance is more than just finances, more than just money, more than just what we might think our lack is for the moment. And of course, if we're focusing on the lack, we're never going to get there because we're in our own way. We're not ready to receive. If we've made up our minds, we ain't got. There's them that's has and them that's got. Them, you know. And we are ready to be one of those that has it. So the demonstration that we're looking for, that, oh, there I go for the glasses again. I think I do have to read them to read the page numbers. This is going to get tedious. We're going to give this up here. But on page 314, he talks about what is a demonstration. We oftentimes call this a manifestation, but a manifestation has more of a regard to form. And a demonstration can have much more than just the form, because thought forms are forms. We don't see it, but changing your thinking is changing your thought forms, and that's a demonstration. So he says that to demonstrate actually means to prove, to exemplify, to manifest, to bring forth, to project into our experience of life something that is better than maybe what we had yesterday. A little less pain, a little less unhappiness, a little less poverty, less misery, and more good. In italics, more good. This is what we mean by demonstration. So we're looking for more good. And the idea of looking up for it is something that I heard Kathy Ann talk to us about at the convention a few years ago, but I wasn't in the room long enough to hear the whole presentation. When you're the planning, organizing person, you're not always able to be the participant at the same time. But this consciousness that is back of the word, that forms our word and then is embodied in that inner movement of the thought and the feeling, is what ultimately creates our direct relationship with Spirit. I believe, and I think Ernest does too, and I don't know how many of you in the room believe this, but I believe we can't truly have a spiritual life without direct experience with the Spirit. And that direct relationship to the divine, for me in my world a lot of times, and I think that this is the case for most of us, comes through intuition. There's a phrase that I like to use to say, when something happens to you, when you have an idea or a thought or an experience that seems to be out of the blue, I call that, ain't that odd, that's God. That's when I got out of my own way and God could come in that relationship that I have, and I could have an intuitive understanding or an intuitive hit about something. And that's where I think that for us to have the better good in our lives and to have the better consciousness that will help us create that better good, we have to feel better. That thought plus feeling that equals the result. How about we work on the feeling? We're pretty busy in Science of Mind working on the thought all the time. You know, change your thinking, change your thinking, change your thinking. And we can do that. And that's the part of it where we can work really hard on our affirmations and our treatment and all that sort of thing. The spiritual practices that we teach are all good. And many of it, or much of it, is related to the mentality, you know, the checkup from the neck up. And I submit to you that the idea of working on the feeling is a way to fast track ourselves into the better thought. It's kind of like, for me, it's sort of like the sun. The sun's out right now. If I went outdoors, I can see the light, but I can feel the heat at the same time. Which came first? So I think we could work a little bit more on the feeling. But all of these spiritual practices that we have, to speak more in the modern terms of technology and what's going on out there in the world, they're like technological hacks where we can kind of have what I call, what from NLP we learned is called the pattern interrupter. That the pattern of our daily lives is just the mundanity of doing the same thing over and over again with the expectation of a different result. You know, we're not going to get there because we have this pattern that we've so ingrained and habituated ourselves to. So praying, meditating, these are ways of interrupting that pattern and stopping for a moment, even if you just sit in the silence. It's like, you know, having something to clear your palate between the courses. The consciousness to move from negative to positive is what I'm looking for in interrupting the feeling. And having that opportunity, that moment for the intuitive hit to come in, because I shut down, I'm out of the way, I'm out of my brain and out of my mind and more in my body and my feeling. So we can open ourselves to that divine truth and that divine revelation through this technique that I want to teach you, that Kathy Ann's been teaching us in the class that I first heard her talk about in Chapala a few years ago. And it's called looking up, literally and metaphorically looking up. So you all probably heard the stories of people like Einstein, who said you can't solve a problem at the level of consciousness that created it. Maybe you've heard the story about Thomas Edison, who'd gone through 150 experiments with the light bulb, couldn't get it to work, gave up in frustration, went out and took a walk, settled his brain down a little bit, probably looked up, looked out, you know, came back, had the idea. That's where we get this concept of our idiom and our English language of the light bulb moment, right? That's when the light bulb went on for Edison, when he could invent the light bulb. So we often talk too in Science of Mind in our training here about looking away from conditions. So we use the word look a great deal. There's about 135 references in the book to looking at something. And what we're looking for, we're looking with, and we're looking at. And these are things that I'm not going to read you out of the book because I'm giving up the reading. And I'm slowing up the process here. Just trust me, it's in here, okay? But we have a teacher back in the day, who was in the contemporary of Ernest Holmes, who, more or less contemporary of Ernest Holmes, his name was Emmett Fox. And Emmett Fox had a little bitty pamphlet called The Golden Key. I don't know how many of you have heard or read The Golden Key or are familiar with the concept, but it's about the concept of looking away from conditions and looking towards Spirit, looking towards God, or looking for Spirit in the situation, maybe. That's the golden key. And Ernest says in this book that sometimes in order for us to prove God, we've got to contradict the human experience. We've got to do something differently or be different than what the human experience is up to that moment, and look at things with a different set of eyes, with a different perspective. Jesus told the blind man in the parable of the blind man in the Bible to look up. You know, sitting there on the ground outside of whatever the temple was that Jesus came out of, and the blind man is asking for the miracle of the cure. And as Jesus was wont to do in almost all of the miracles, I think without exception, he asks the person who is asking for the healing to demonstrate their readiness after fashion by their doing something. You know, pick up your crutches and walk. Get up out of the bed, Lazarus. You know, and to the blind man, he said, look up, don't look down. Don't look at the dust in front of you. Don't look at that negativity. Look up. And it's the looking up that helps us move from that negativity to positivity physiologically. And Kathy Ann has definitely demonstrated this in the class that we're having. We have about 40 people in the class on Zoom. And we meet every Tuesday just for an hour. But she's certainly put us through the paces of this. And I watched myself go through it, watched other people go through it, and now I'd like to share it, you know, a little bit with you. But we have a lot of sayings in our language about looking up. You know, things are looking up. It's getting better. Or keep your head up. Or keep your eye on the prize, you know, those kinds of things. And then the Bible, aside from that story of Jesus, there are a lot of other things. You know, look unto the hills from whence cometh thy salvation. There's a lot of looking up out there to be done. But Reverend Kathy Ann teaches from a book, from the works of Emma Curtis Hopkins, who was a teacher for Ernest Holmes. And she is favoring in this particular class the book by Emma Curtis Hopkins called Resume, which is kind of like a synopsis of Emma's teachings. And the idea of looking up. Do you all remember that those of you who've taken any classes or read Emma Curtis Hopkins, the name of her ministry, The High Watch. And we hold that term in Science and Mind in the practitioner and ministerial and ecclesiastical arm of the center at any rate. We talk a lot about holding consciousness, holding the high watch. And that term is something we borrowed from Emma, the high watch. Someday I'll tell you a story about the high watch ministry and 12 steps, if you want to hear that story. But we have this practice of looking up in many ways in our society. And nowadays, I think it's kind of become the look it up rather than look up, because we're all addicted to our screens and to Google and the God of Google or whatever. We're looking up to the God of Google. But in this case, I'm asking you to think about it literally and to open our eyes to the process so we can see. So if you'll be willing to spend a minute with me, think about something in your life that maybe you're not too happy about right now, some issue. You can use your finances, or maybe you just think you're just all that in a bag of chips and you got everything you need in that realm, but think of something else, even if it's the hurricane victims in Florida. Think of something that will need a little uplifting, something that you want to see a little bit uplifted. But we're going to start by looking down. So if you got something in your mind, then just kind of look down at your hands in your lap, or look down at about the level of where you'd hold a book in your. Now breathe and pay attention to what's in your body and what your thoughts are about your thing, whatever that might be. And characterize to yourself. Are you thinking negatively? Are you thinking positively? Does it seem difficult? Pretend that you're Eeyore for a moment. And now, look straight ahead. Look at what would be your horizon. Just look straight ahead of you. I don't know if you're looking at the back of someone's head or whatever, but just look straight ahead. And think again about whatever this is that's on your mind, whatever's on your heart. And check in, breathe, feel how you feel in your body about it now. And you have to have your eyes open for this process. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. Maybe some of you have your eyes closed. This is an open-eyed process. For whatever reason, it doesn't seem to work, and Kathy Ann told us that it doesn't work if you have your eyes closed. So now look about 45 degrees up from that horizon. It might be more or less where the walls meet the ceiling, or you can look outdoors and see above the window level. Again, keep your eyes open and think about your problem now. How's it looking now? How's it feeling now? What's shifting? Eyes open. Well, I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but I'm hoping that many of you experienced a little bit of an uplift, if not a lot of an uplift. The people in my class reported things like going from feeling their situation was hopeless. They get to the horizontal and they begin to see a little bit of ray of hope on the horizon. And then when you look up, something about the broader vision and just lifting your head, maybe activating the vagus nerve a little bit more or something in there, is bringing you to a little bit higher level of, and for me, when I experienced it, it was just unlimited possibility rather than limitation. Now, some of you might have had a little shadow side show up. I don't know. Like, well, if I wanted something better about that, what do I have to give up to get it? Well, I have to pay some price. Or does improvement in my situation or greater good in my finances, if that's what it was you were working on, mean I have to let go of what I have now? These are the shadow elements that can come up and kind of pull us back from looking up. But consciousness is going to decide for you. And if you look up, even though you might be almost consciously attempting to pull yourself back, because we experimented with this in the class too, you really can't do it. It reminded me of the forcing the smile, the grin and bear it. Just a quick aside that in Emory University, they did some studies of people that were looking at how they could transfer the energy that comes from the fear in the back of your amygdala over something into the singular angular cortex. I can't remember exactly if I'm saying that correctly or not. But that's your power center and more of your ability to create and move and take action. And they put chopsticks in people's mouth like this to force the smile on their face and force the physiological change that comes from that while they were watching horror movies. And at the end of the series of tests, the people who were in the control group, who were only watching the horror flicks, and the people who were in the chopstick group, they had an 80% less cortisol level than the people who were just sitting in the fear. So they were able, through that smiling and that whole physiological thing. In the same way with the looking ups, there's something about this physiologically that has to do with our ability to let in the bigger picture and to have an idea that is more positive than negative about whatever it is. But at the end of the day, it's all subjective, right? So it comes back to you having to decide. And on page 300 in this book, he says that consciousness decides from a subjective state. So if you want the shadow, you can have it. But when you get past that, your demonstration and your manifestation always will come at the point in time when there's no longer anything left there that is denying your good. So that's on page 300. So I just invite you to look up and keep looking up throughout the day, throughout the week. Test it out. You know, this is the science of mental science too, right? If you can have the experiment over and over again and produce the same result, then perhaps we can call it science. And this has been, I think, from the eons before the biblical times, this idea of looking up. You know, Moses went to the top of the mountain. The idea of getting the bigger picture and looking up is not new to us, but maybe it's new to you and some of us as a spiritual practice, right? So I just say, however you approach life, because that's what Ernest teaches us, is that our life shows up in the form as we approach it. That's the consciousness of the reaction of the thought plus the feeling as a result. And if we just approach our life with eyes wide open and looking up, we have a whole different perspective about our lives. And that's it for my talk. Namaste. And Bonnie, I told you I was going to read this treatment, but I'm not sure that I can do it. You want me to read it? So what I was going to invite you to do, though, is I was on page, in this book, The Science of Mind, there's a treatment that Ernest has written for us, that all you've got to do is read it and say it to yourself or whatever, about abundance. And it's on page 263, 264. In this version of the text, which is not the newest one that came out a few years ago. But there's where that abundance treatment would be. And I'm going to let Bonnie sum it up and give you the treatment. I'm going to ask you to do the same thing I was going to ask you to do if I read you the one I was going to read you. Keep your eyes open and look up while she's doing the treatment. Okay? We'll experiment with that. Huh?
You want me to read it?
Oh, yeah, if you want to, sure. You got your glasses on that work. So what did I tell you, 263, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So
Supply?
I was going to read this part about supply,
Okay.
and then, but this is where the treatment is right there. So if you just want to read the treatment, that's good
Okay.
too.
So we'll
And I did
try.
that with my eyes open and listening. That's great. Thank
So I invite the practitioners to stand and keep their eyes open as well. And so I invite you, as Peggy said, and again, thank you, Peggy, for your words and this new practice for many of us. Let's look way up. You can look up into those things.
Well,
Not too high up?
She said don't overdo it. She said at the 45-degree angle, something about the sacred geometry.
45
We're
degree.
going to get more of God by looking up higher.
Okay, so look right there. There's our symbol, 45 degrees up.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, Ernest Holmes' words. I am surrounded by pure spirit, by God, the living spirit. My thought is God thought, and it is the law unto that thing whereunto it is spoken. Everything that I do shall be a success. I am led, guided, and inspired by the living spirit of love and of right action. I am compelled to move in the right direction and to always know what to do, where, and how to do it. I am surrounded by right action. I am filled with the consciousness of right action. Right action is success in all that I undertake to do. I am successful in all my undertakings, and I am compensated for all my efforts. I am surrounded by substance, which is always taking the form of supply and always manifesting itself to me in the form of whatever my need may be at the time. I always have an abundance of money and an abundance of whatever it takes to make life happy and opulent. There is a conscious movement toward me of supply, of money, of all that I need to express the fullness of life, happiness, and action. I have an inner understanding of my place in the universe. I know that it is unique. The divine has not incarnated in anyone else in just the same individual way that it has in me. I am unique and forever individualized. Therefore, I do not need to emanate anyone to long for the good that belongs to another. All good is now mine and is now manifest in my experience. I do not compete with anyone, for I am and remain forever myself. This self is united with all selves, but is always an individual and a unique self. There is that in me which all people recognize as worthwhile and desirable, and everyone whom I meet loves this self of mine and recognizes its worth. I draw all toward me, and those whom I can benefit and those who can benefit me are irresistibly drawn toward me. I do not strain, will, or coerce. I know. The truth makes me free from the fear of poverty or bondage and emancipates me from the thought of limitation. I see that money, like everything else that is desirable, must be a spiritual idea, and I know that I have this idea right in my mind at this moment. I shall always have this idea of abundance. It is mine, and I take it. The opportunity for self-expression and compensation is always open to me, and I am at all times compelled to know, accept, and operate upon this opportunity. I have abundance because I am abundance. All that the Father hath is mine. And so just take those words in, let them settle. As you're looking up, feel the shift and know that Spirit is moving with those words in your life perfectly. And you can say together or in your mind, and so it is. And once again, thank you, Peggy.
This song is called Weave. It's by, hang on a second, Rosemary Kroll, it looks like. Can recommended this song and thought it would be appropriate. And if any of you guys have songs that you think would be great, especially if you have some form of music to go along with the recommendation, by all means, let me know.
Still we did not know our unity weave us together, weave us together, together in love.
Thank you. Thank you, Kayanne, and thank you, Sarah, for being able to do that. We are always looking for new and wonderful songs to bring here, and Sarah just keeps stepping up and learning them all, so we're grateful for that. Thank you
Maybe
again,
not
Sarah.
totally all.
Yeah, we're doing good. We're doing good, and
You're
it's
welcome.
so wonderful. And this is the time that we consider giving back to the center, and we wanted to just make you aware that one of the easiest ways to give is if you happen to use Amazon, which I know a lot of people started using Amazon when we were not going to the stores, you can select Smile Amazon and you choose a nonprofit to get a percentage of whatever you're spending on your purchase. And we've gotten it shifted from what used to be First Church of Religious Science, which was our business name, is our business name, to CSL Las Cruces. So you can choose CSL Las Cruces as the nonprofit that gets a percentage. So instead of just buying straight through Amazon, go to Smile Amazon, choose smile.amazon, and then make sure that that's the one you go into. And once it's set up, like mine is set up already with First Church of Religious Science, and it'll stay that way with Las Cruces because it both ways will get you here. Then I think it's like 5%, a small 0.5%, a small amount comes here, but we are slowly seeing that each month a little bit coming to the center from people making those purchases. So just wanted to let you know, if you use Amazon, at least put a little bit of it to use to come back into the center. And 10% of everything that comes in, even those little percentages that come from Amazon, 10% of everything that comes into the center, we tithe back out into our community. And this month, we're tithing to Mesilla Valley Hospice. And I know Mesilla Valley Hospice is near and dear to many of our hearts of the people that are here today. Reverend Randy performs out there for them and gives them music as a gift from him. And I know some of us have family members who have been there or are there right now. So hospice is a type of care and can be offered either at home, as an assisted living facility, nursing home, hospital, or hospice house like La Posada. Hospice is designed to bring physical and emotional comfort to a patient, as well as spiritual support if desired, when curative treatments are not working or are making the patient more uncomfortable. Hospice is also designed to provide the family with the support and relief that they need. So 10% of everything that comes through the center this month is going to support hospice and what they do to support our family members. So please join me in our affirmation. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, in me. And we will sing, I Am So Blessed.
I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed.
So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Don't forget the practitioners are here to serve you after the service if you'd like a short treatment. And now we will stand and sing our closing song, the peace song. Huh? Sometimes it's peace song. It is